Thank you all for attending Client Attraction Chain Reaction during the new normal. Normal, what's that? Well, let's go back to the former times. The year was 2015. The place, Chicago, Illinois. Craig Lauder was at a crossroads. He was a veteran consultant in the sales arena, had done very well with his career, but he was getting maxed out. He wasn't able to spend time with his family like he liked. He was in that $100,000 to $400,000 sweet spot, but he was frustrated because he didn't have any more time to trade and he wanted more impact and influence. So that's when we met. He attended one of my Marketing with a Book summits in Chicago. And we talked about his challenge and that he wanted to grow the business. And grow, what is that? I said, what's the finish line? He said, if I could increase revenues by 25% without taking up more time, that would be the dream. So I said, Craig, it's not going to be easy, but you can do it. I said, first thing is you're going to need to publish a book. And he goes, oh, a book, I don't know if I could do that. I said, yes, you can. With help, because I'm not a writer. I said, that's fine. I'm an interviewer. So I interviewed him about his process. I interviewed him about his success stories of clients he got from a bad place to a great place. And then we pulled it together. We created his book, Smooth Selling Forever. And he invested $20,000 to help write that, to get it published, to some marketing to get it out there. So what happened? Well, one thing, he got higher conversion rates, talking to the same people, same amount of people, but more were signing up. He was able to charge more. They saw him as more of an expert. He had more credibility in the marketplace. He said the relationships became stickier. He loved it when clients would walk into a meeting with his book and there was yellow Post-it notes about things they wanted to have conversations about. His revenues increased 35%, 3 years running. His ROI was 10x. In other words, 1,000% from what he invested. Best of all, he was no longer maxed out in time. He added a lucrative revenue stream of training and speaking. And his revenue per hour also grew by 1/3. And best of all, the kicker, he had more time to spend with his family. That's what we're talking about today. He created a client attraction chain reaction. And if you remember in science class, a chain reaction is when a certain chemical reaction and one thing leads to another. We liken it to dominoes. You might think of it as a forest fire or a snowball rolling down the hill. These things gather momentum. So what we're talking about today are how to gather more momentum. And a key to it, and we have some guests here today to share how they're doing it. The key to it is these are uncertain times. And there's something every business needs, more clients. These are emotional times. And in order to connect with more clients, you have to reach them on an emotional level. And that means you have to be a business development storyteller. Part of the secret in Craig's success was he learned that it wasn't his content, it wasn't his knowledge that was so important. It was to be able to tell these relatable stories of people who he took from a mess to success. I wish you could have been there. The year was 2014. The place was in Los Angeles. I'm in one of the high rises in downtown LA. I'd just given my Persuade with a Story workshop to a dozen CEOs. The host of the meeting was the managing partner of this large LA law firm. And after my workshop, he invited me back into his inner office. And his inner office was filled with movie posters and movie memorabilia. And I thought he was a big movie fan. He said, well, actually, Grandpa was a big producer in Hollywood in the 20s. And my dad was a big Hollywood producer in the 40s and 50s. and I'm in entertainment law. He said, but you solved a mystery for me today, Henry. And I said, a mystery? What was that? And he said, Grandpa used to say, we only make 8 movies in Hollywood. And I never understood what he meant until today. That's one of the secrets I'm sharing with you today. If you want to create that chain reaction, you need to learn to tell the 8 great stories. That's one of 3 secrets I'll share. There are only 8 great stories that Hollywood tells. They're the monster story, the underdog story, the comedy solution, the tragedy solution, the mystery, the quest, the redemption, the rebirth redemption, the comeback, and the escape story. Just 8 stories. So as a storyteller, as you're telling your client mess to success stories in your books, and more important, in your speaking. So one of the things I teach is that the book is the best marketing tool an independent consultant can have. Speaking is the #1 business development strategy. More people will be impacted. You'll have more impact and influence by the people who listen to you about the book. I'm on a podcast every week talking about my books. I like to say my books are like my children. And like my children, I expect them to take care of me in my old age. Mm-hmm. So your books should also be your children. The secret #2 is that there's a 1, 2, 3 formula. It's easy to learn for telling these stories. There's a main character, a protagonist, a hero, if you will, and it's not you. It's the person you helped. You're the mentor character. You're the Yoda. You're the wizard, the voice of wisdom and experience. And then there's a nemesis character, something that had to be overcome. Without a challenge, without it being hard, it's not a good story. Oh, I met this client. He had a problem. I told him how to solve it. He did it. It all worked out. We don't want that story. Secret #3 is to know that your stories matter. You're not going to win the game by having the best content. Your book is not going to have the better content than any other book. That's not going to win the game, because human brains are hardwired for stories. It's what we remember. And you need to be telling these client success stories that demonstrate that you can take people where they want to go. And those are in your book. They're also in your Zoominars. They're in your podcast interviews. Your stories matter, and you need to be sharing them. Now, think for a moment in your career. Has there ever been a time where somebody didn't accept your advice? They didn't hire you. This happened to a mentor of mine. He met with a woman. She had a problem. He gave her good advice to work together, and she decided, no, it wasn't for her. And then they met 7 years later at a party. And she said, I want to tell you what's happening in my life. And it wasn't good. Now, all these things went bad. Now, whose fault was it? My mentor knew it was his fault, because he was not persuasive enough. He just showed up and gave her the facts and figures of what to do. He didn't connect with her on an emotional level. So the choice she made didn't lead to where she wanted to go. So it's the same with us. We need to get better at this if we want to have more impact and influence. And again, I'm excited about the guests we have today to talk about that. You'll be amazed at how the right kind of storytelling can turn prospects into lifelong business relationships, and they become advocates for your work. I am advocates for the people who are on today. Now, maybe we haven't met personally yet, but I think I know you. If you're like the thousands I've interviewed for my books and articles, you want to have more impact. You want to have more credibility. You want to help more people. It's not really the money that drives you. I get that. So If you want to have more credibility, more impact and influence, I leave you with this challenge. I challenge you to learn and use the storytelling secrets that create a client attraction chain reaction. And it's so much more important now. We say the new normal, and then we kind of laugh. That's nothing's normal. We're not getting back to normal, whatever that was. I don't know if we were normal. It's going to be a lot more virtual. So a lot more podcasts, a lot more Zoominars. You still need the book as the credibility piece. It opens the doors. So quickly, before I go to some of our guests, I'm just going to give you the top 7 things you do to create a client attraction chain reaction. 1, you conduct virtual and live small scale seminars for 5 to 10 people. Zoom is a wonderful tool, and it opens up geography. People don't have to be in a city to do it. Get booked to give how-to speeches to target-rich audiences. It's opening up. I'm getting booked for live events for 2022. I'm still going to be doing a lot of virtual events in 2022. It's both. Get published in media that your target-rich audience reads. I'm a columnist for Forbes.com. Here's an offer to anybody. If you, and Devin, you can put this in the chat, please. If you want to be considered for a Forbes.com column, just send me an email with Forbes as the subject line, and I'll send you instructions on how you can work with me to pitch me on a Forbes.com column. And I'm paid to do 5 a month. So there's always an opportunity, and I'm always looking for good material. 4th thing is volunteer to do pro bono work for target-rich groups and associations. For me, I work with independent consultants who want to attract high-paying clients by marketing with a book and a speech. So I work hard to find out, where do independent consultants, successful independent consultants, hang out? Well, they hang out at a group called IMC, and I've helped put on conferences for them for many years. They hang out at the Society for the Advancement of Consulting. I helped put their conference on this year, and we'll be involved next year in their conference. What can you do to get involved with a target-rich group? Network at target-rich groups. They're starting to meet again. If your target-rich group gathers, you need to be there. Where 2 or more of them are gathered, be there. And I'll give you a secret. Ask to interview them. Set it up for offline to interview them, to share in how you're in your white papers, in your columns. Poof, I make you a LinkedIn columnist. For free, you can publish your thoughts on LinkedIn and interview people. They'll be honored, and it builds relationships. Number 6, get your internet game plan together. YouTube videos. We're big fans. We're going all in on YouTube. You need to be on YouTube. People search YouTube as much as they search Google for how-to information. So you need to be there. And a little secret, title your videos not with something clever, but how to do blank. That is the secret, because people are searching for how-to information. Number 7, conduct paid workshops. A paid workshop where people would pay money to hear what you had to say. Here's what they'll pay money for. Proprietary research you've done with their peers. For instance, one of our clients was a technology company. They did outsourced technology R&D engineering. So I helped them research the 10 biggest mistakes technology companies make when they're outsourcing R&D engineering. IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Kodak was included in the study. Well, this is like catnip for cats. I mean, this attracts the people because they want to know, what are the mistakes other people are making. I helped a client that was after the Fortune 500, and they wanted to sell them customer relationship management services. So I said, first, let's do a survey of the Fortune 500 and find out how many are implementing CRM. And all those who were implementing CRM, we asked them, what mistakes have you made? Then we had a study on the biggest mistakes Fortune 500 companies make when implementing CRM. Ooh, mistakes, Henry, sounds negative. I know, excellent. People are more interested in solving a pain than going after a gain. You'll make more money selling Vicodin than vitamins. You need to be a painkiller and go after the pain and share the pain. These are the 7 steps, but let's talk to people, authors who are in the game right now. So we'll talk to David, and then Eleni, and then Mason. So David, 2 to 4 minutes on this, on what you're doing with your first book, with your second book, and how you're speaking about it.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks for asking. I wrote a book called The Road to Happiness, How to Get What You Really Want, and published it with Henry through Indie Books International. And love this book. And it's a book that tells 9 stories of clients who hired me for various reasons, and all said that they wanted something in particular. But along the way, they found out what they really wanted, and when they got a hold of that, then they got almost everything they wanted. And I love this book. I'm proud of it. But what I'm most proud of is Appendix A talks about what I call the Goldman enrollment process. And so through conversations with Henry and Henry's partner and my coach, Mark LeBlanc, the 3 of us have decided to collaborate on my next book, which is called Bringing in the Business. And that book, I think, is the book that will lead to ultimate success in the markets that we want to deal with. So the way I'm using the book, by the way, if it becomes a bestseller, I'm happy for that to happen. But that's never been the intention. The intention was to have a vehicle that would that I could present to my marketplace of independent professionals who want to bring in more business without feeling like salespeople. And in so doing, the book will attract more of those people, and I will have more business, more speaking business, more coaching business, and about 90% of my business is coaching. You want more?
You're on mute. That was great. Thanks. And then Eleni, if you could share.
Yeah, well, thanks to the administration's support, counseling, and otherwise fantastic. I really want to say fantastic. Counseling with a big C. Just of Henry, Devin, everyone at Indie Books. I just released Claim the Stage, A Woman's Guide to Speaking Up, Standing Out, and Taking Leadership. This is my second book, and I really wanted to take a different approach to this, not simply in the writing of it in terms of having a coach, which I had the brilliant Henry, but also just in terms of how I'm marketing this book. And I'm happy to say, first of all, that I got through launch week, and I'm still recovering from it, I think. But I really wanted to do what I am asking women to do in this book, which is to really put themselves out there as fully as possible and take the risk of really showing up, even if it's uncomfortable. And I wanted to do that myself. So I figure I better walk my talk. So I did things and have done things and will continue to do things to market this book that I've never done before. First of all, I had an actual plan around it. My assistant helped me way before the fact, at least a month, if not more like a month and a half. We started using social media to seed this book. I had already had a list of 125 raging advocates around this book who had been interviewed and given me survey information that helped me write this book. And they've known all along what's going on. I've kept them in the loop. So I very visibly began planting little seeds. and then watering those little seeds. And when we started the launch, we amped it up. I created a few little tiny mini videos on my phone, nothing fancy schmancy, that my assistant turned out into social media. I mean, my cat on my bed reading my book, you know, seriously, just little tiny snippets. During launch week, I did whatever I could just to make it visible, Facebook Live interviews and so forth. And my intention with this book, beside actually wanting women to read it and use it because it's full of very useful, helpful information to move them from the wings to the stage, is to use this book to get speaking engagements specifically around this book and become more visible out there. I'm trying to put myself out there even more fully. I've been working internationally for some time, but I want to have a greater impact. That's what this book is intended to help me do. And already it's gotten a lot of attention. I happily can say it's an Amazon bestseller. That was a nice little joyful thing that occurred as a result. But every single one of my coaching clients, my women coaching clients, is going to get a copy of this book. We're already doing a LinkedIn campaign to a list of 200 decision makers who could potentially hire me. And I'm going to use this book as a way to, you know, to get them interested. Basically, would you like a copy of this book? As in a hard copy. We want to mail it to you and begin a conversation. So that's how I see this book. And it is the second of a trio of books. I'm already starting to think about writing the next one, which is squarely on public speaking. And I see it as a tool, a well-written, useful, beautifully edited, gorgeously put together tool, because I believe those things really matter. I want whoever picks this book up and reads it to love it and keep wanting to turn the pages. And so I think as tools go, that's important when it comes to books. And the help I had in doing that is just, you know, instrumental.
Thank you, Eleni. Stay on. I want to talk to you. Devin, do I have permission to share your good news with Eleni? That looks like a nod. And David, I saw your hand. I'll get to you in just a second. Eleni just needed to give you some information. When Devin joined Indie Books, it was with the agreement that we would never make her speak in public. And we agreed to that. But through the years, she wanted to advance, and we asked her to join Toastmasters to learn some leadership skills, presentation skills. She worked her way up to president. So you want women to claim the stage. Devin entered the speech contest this year and won, with your help, won the club level, and now goes on. So here is a woman who is claiming the stage.
Yay! Best news.
We're going to hear from Devin in a moment. No pressure, Devin. We'll put you on in a moment. David, you had a question?
Yeah, I noticed that I forgot to mention something that I think is really important to your listeners, and that is a marketing strategy. Actually, I'm going to call it a brilliant marketing strategy that I got from Henry and Mark. What I'm doing with this book is I'm gifting it to, I have 20 to 25 advocates, centers of influence who love me and believe in me and refer me to people. So I gift this book to them so that they can give it as a gift to the people that they think ought to be having a conversation with me about whether they ought to hire me as a coach. So it looks like it's a gift from them, but I'm actually gifting it to them so that they can give it forward. And that's just been a brilliant strategy. And it's probably in the past year, it's probably returned close to 6 figures of income, more than certainly book sales. So I just wanted to mention that just a great strategy and a good use for the book.
Thanks for that. Some of the things I left out of the Craig Lauder story was Craig is not a best-selling author. He said, I never worked on that at all. He worked on getting copies of his books into the hands of the right people. So he mailed hundreds of books out, notes, with Eleni sending the books out also. She has a killer sizzle reel of under 4 minutes that's just like amazing. That 1-2 punch of video and the book really sets you apart and opens a lot of doors for speaking. So that's just the thing. You don't have to be this best-selling author. People don't have to discover you. Matter of fact, you figure out the 200 people who you want to know who you are, and you get the book in their hands as a gift. And if it's about getting on a stage, then they're going to want to see a YouTube video of you speaking to people.
That's right.
Because I interviewed a speakers bureau, and they said, oh, your authors sound great. They sound very intelligent. I don't need intelligent people. I need people who can speak and reach people. So video is so important. This is video we're doing. We call this a showcase. We're giving these 3 people showcases. If you want more information in depth, I do a weekly podcast, and that's on indiebooks.com. Go to videos, and each of them have delivered how-to talks on video there on how to accomplish some of these things. So invite you to check it out. This is important. So let's go to Mason. Mason, thanks for being with us today. Please tell us about your journey.
Sure. Well, first, thank you, Henry, the Indie Books International team, my fellow members of the Authors Club for their successes, and also for the aspiring authors and people who are considering this and are on today. It honestly is a pleasure to be here today. Now, of course, it's easy for me to talk about it being a pleasure because my book is finished and it's generating attention. However, I commend everybody here, especially our audience members, but also feel compelled to warn you about a potential problem that I'll discuss soon. So our focus today is how to create a client attraction chain reaction. How do we do that? Is it a slick brochure, a website that constantly needs updating, a YouTube channel, appear as a guest on numerous podcasts, join a community of authors and share best practices? Well, the answers are maybe, yes, oh yeah, definitely, yes, and absolutely do that last one. But the most important action we can take is to write a book. And as daunting as writing a book may seem, it's the best and most impactful marketing piece that I believe you will ever produce. It certainly has been for me. Now, your book doesn't always get read. We know that. But it also isn't filed away, and it doesn't get thrown away. And your intended target is going to put it either on a desk, take it home and put it on a nightstand, or on a bookshelf nearby. So what is my ominous warning that I warned you about earlier to you? Don't give up. Don't postpone your project any longer, because I believe, just as I have, we can fit it into our schedule. That 9 to 15 months from now, you can have a book in your hands. So I urge you to demonstrate a bit of chutzpah and get your ideas out into the world. Why am I using the word chutzpah to describe what it takes to write a book? Well, first of all, my book is The Chutzpah Advantage, and it undoubtedly has relevance to everybody who's thinking about writing a book. You see, chutzpah is a set of 8 behaviors and characteristics that combine to create extraordinary results. You probably already use some of these behaviors today. Otherwise, truthfully, I doubt you would even be here today trying to learn and move forward. So how did I become such a recognized expert in chutzpah? Well, quite honestly, I just wrote the book. Has anyone else in the audience written a book on chutzpah? Let's see. No. That's what makes me the expert. Now, writing for me is not easy, and I know it's a challenge for most people. I did, however, get a great piece of advice. Since speaking comes more easily to me, frankly, to most of us, I wrote my book in a conversational style. People who have seen me speak live have told me that the book absolutely sounds like me, although without the New York accent. So I undertook a challenging task, which was writing this book. And sadly, I had to put off my desire to binge watch a dozen other TV series on Netflix. As an aside, I hear for those that there will be a sequel to Tiger King. So for those people who are thinking of any excuse to not to write a book, this might be it for you. But for the rest of us, something to think about. Why did I commit time for something I didn't love and postpone things I wanted to do? It's because I knew it would bring about the desired results for my career objectives. And how did I know this? I'd already written a book on restaurant marketing several years ago, and that became a foundation for the chain reaction we all desire, what we're speaking about today. Now, both of my books are a business card with a difference. Yes, the book had my contact information, just like a business card, which was great, and it wouldn't fit into a prospect's wallet, which was even better. As I said, it went on their desk, their bookshelf, maybe even their nightstand at home. Now, having been in direct contact with the author, me, I stood out from all the other business cards and marketing pieces. My prospects and clients shared my book with colleagues, and in some cases brought copies for their own client-centered events. It was a double hit. It's that chain reaction we're speaking about. Frankly, again, as I've said, I doubt that some of them even read the book, but that's irrelevant because of the many doors that were open. And when I called to inquire about paid speaking engagements or giving a workshop or training their sales, management, or customer service teams, or even simply to meet for coffee, I had a higher probability of a yes because I was an expert that they could feel good about. So my books are the most effective marketing I have ever done. More importantly, however, and we touched on this, my ideas are worth sharing, and these books are an important piece of my legacy and now my history. You all have a lot on your plate, but I urge you to do two things. Leave here knowing that you can write your story, you can share your ideas, and you can impact many, many others. And of course, the second one, buy my book. It's even on sale on Amazon as I want to share my ideas with you, your colleagues, friends, and family. I wish you good luck. I'm Mason Harris, speaker and author of The Chutzpah Advantage. Back to you, Henry.
Nicely done, Mason. Just nicely done.
Thank you.
And thanks for you put preparation into that. And over time, the more of these you do, the more easy it is to do them. And more important, you never know who you are going to impact down the road. And you're never going to know who somebody is going to say, hey, I heard this guy, he sounded interesting. We should check him out for the next meeting. And so that's also the chain reaction. One person leads to another person, and you're an advocate of other people. What's the number one strategy on all this? Even if you're an author, what's the number one strategy? It's our small scale seminar. And Devin, why don't you talk a little bit about how even people who are writing a book, if they're in the process of writing the book, can use the small scale seminar.
Thank you. So Henry was correct. I did say that about public speaking. That was my biggest fear and something I never wanted to do. I was happy to be in the backgrounds at Indie Books. But we have been using this strategy since day one of our company. And I've seen how powerful it can be. So it got to a point where I thought, we can't keep this a secret anymore. We need to share it. So I have been working on getting myself out in front so I can help people learn this strategy. So when we talk about a small scale seminar, we're talking about, for a single speaker, 5 to 10 people in a room, because that's a good sized group to foster real kind of connections. A group that size, you can learn everybody's name, really have conversations. And that's when it becomes the most impactful and rewarding for you. And the idea is to share helpful information at a no cost or a very low cost kind of event. And the benefit of doing that is that you show your expertise. You let them kind of get a sense of your style and your personality so that they know if they kind of want to take a next step with you. And it's also, you know, kind of a safe environment for them. You know, they're not signing up for a sales call, but this is a way that they can learn a little bit more about you and what you do in an environment that will be comfortable for them. So that's kind of the why behind the structure. But I'll share a story with you to show how impactful it can be. So one of our authors is Michael Haig. He's a storytelling expert out of Hollywood. He's, you know, a script consultant. He's the person that Will Smith calls up when he wants advice on a project. He's brilliant at what he does. And he had come to us with his new book, which was called Storytelling Made Easy. But this was geared at business professionals and how they could use the same storytelling formulas that Hollywood uses in their presentations and marketing materials. The trouble was, this was a totally new audience for Michael. Up to this point in his career, he'd always worked with fiction authors or screenwriters, or he'd taught in university settings. So he asked us, you know, how do I find this audience? How do I get in front of them? And our recommendation was put on your own small scale seminar, host your own event. And what we did is we taught him our strategies for, you know, how to set it up, how to market it. We use LinkedIn and email marketing and referrals to fill our events. So we taught him those strategies. If you want more information on that, we have a white paper we're happy to send. But the point was to get in front of as many, we decided to focus on marketing professionals for his first event. And his event actually got a lot of positive response, and we ended up having 19 people sign up for his first event. Now, for this strategy to really pay off for you, you need to make sure you have a follow-up to the event. So we recommend, it's kind of a 1-2 punch. So you have your seminar, and then at the end, you have an offer for, usually it's a 30-minute no-cost strategy call in whatever your area of expertise is. So for Henry, he has the book chat. So he'll talk, you know, whatever questions you have about publishing, you can discuss that with him. We have a couple people that have, they call it a coffee talk. And again, it's just whatever question you want to ask them, they're happy to do that. So for Michael, we were offering, you know, 30-minute storytelling strategy call as a follow-up. And when we had his event, we had a form, yes, I'd be interested in having the follow-up call. 18 of the 19 people who attended the event said, yes, I want that follow-up call. And it turns out the 19th person in the room was his sister-in-law that had come to support him. So we actually count it as 100% success rate. And within a week of the event, somebody had hired him, and it covered the cost of the entire putting on the event, marketing the event, all of that. Plus, he had 17 other prospects in his pipeline to follow up with. And about a month later, he repeated it, did a second event. And at that event, they didn't even want to wait for the strategy call. Somebody said, I want to hire you that day in the room. So that's how impactful this event, these kind of events can be, because you're demonstrating that you know this area and that you can help them with their specific problem. And it's, our philosophy is built around generosity. So you're generous with the information, you're generous with your time, with the strategy call, and all of that will be attractive to clients.
Devin, thank you so much. So Devin mentioned what I call a book chat. David Goldman and I are writing about it in the Bringing in the Business book. It's an offer, a generous offer of a no selling zone call to help you get clarity on your goal, what assets you have, what roadblocks might be in your way, and how others have gotten from where you are to where you want to go. So our offer today is, if you want to know more about the small scale strategy and how it could work for you, just request a call with Devin. Also, if you want to have a book chat, either Devin or I would have a 30-minute no selling zone strategy call on books. And Devin can put that information in the chat on how to just email us and request that. The catch is we only have so many slots for these free calls. So you might have to wait 30 days or something. So there, but would you want a consultant? Would you want to talk to a coach or a consultant who said, well, I'm totally free. No, you can talk to me anytime. That wouldn't be a good sign. That wouldn't be a good sign that we're not practicing what we preach here and creating client attraction chain reactions. So I just wanted to open it up to Sophie or John or anybody. And you could do it in the chat, or you could raise a hand if you had a question you wanted to ask any of us today.
Oh, hello, thank you for organizing this. I don't have a specific question about writing a book. I'm just here to learn and find some inspiration. Yeah, but thank you for organizing this. So,
well, you're welcome, Sophie. Who do you, what kind of clients do you help? Who do you help?
So I am originally from Belgium and I live in Silicon Valley. So I started here my company Expandify, where I help entrepreneurs with their international expansion strategies. So mainly European entrepreneurs who want to expand to the United States.
Ah, okay. Well,
and
bonjour.
I have this idea of writing a book, but setting the steps. So I'm here also, yes, just to learn how you help your customers, how you help your clients, and see what the possibilities are.
Yeah. I know I helped a man from Mexico who was in Silicon Valley, and he was helping people from Mexico and other countries do business in Silicon Valley. And his book was Think Like Silicon Valley. And
Great.
English wasn't his first language, but to Mason's point, we had him talk the book into existence, where we interviewed him. He spoke in English, just sometimes didn't have the confidence that in writing it would come across well. I said, well, it's like anything. You get help. And I certainly know when I go to Europe, I need a lot of help. So Sophie, may I tell you my joke?
Yeah.
Okay. If you speak many languages, you're multilingual. If you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. If you speak 1 language, you're an American. That's your joke now. You have that joke. I give you permission to tell it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was wondering if you had some Dutch background, because DeVries is a Belgian or Dutch last name.
Dank u wel. Yes, yes, we are Dutch. And my father was from the Netherlands. And yeah, so when I go to the Belgian fry stand at the farmer's market, I say bonjour to the man, and then I ask for mayonnaise. And he goes, "Oh, Dutch." I said, "Yeah, dank u wel." That's how we eat our French fries. Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for being with us today, and hope this was helpful. Again,
thank you.
If ever you wanted to go in more depth, there is a learning center on our website with articles. There's lots of videos, and then also we're happy to talk with people who are serious about this. And really, we encourage all of you. Our time doesn't get wasted by people. We don't have any people who, oh, I'm going to take advantage and spend time on the phone with them. It's just like, they're serious people and they have questions we answer. And we find generosity is the strategy. Our brand is generosity because the more helpful we are, the luckier we get. The more helpful we are, the luckier we get. Because if it's not the person we're talking to that we're helping, or the person who attended the seminar today that we help, our business is driven by the 4 magic words in the English language. I know a guy, and it works for males and females. Small scale seminars, Devin. This person at Indie Books, talk to Devin. A book. Talk to this guy at Indie Books, Henry DeVries. So we want the same happening for you. Well, I want to thank our panelists. Quick go round from Devin and Mason and David and Eleni. If there's just one quick thought you wanted to share with everybody as a takeaway, what would you like to share? We'll start with Eleni and Devin and then go to Mason and David. Eleni? You're on mute.
As I said before, a book is a tool, but it is a useless tool unless you actually write it. And so I just feel that if you want to write one, write it. Find people to help you write it, honor the deadlines, and finish it, and then enjoy the fruits of it, because in spite of all the hard work, it is so deeply fulfilling when you hold it in your hands.
Thank you, Eleni. Devin?
Mine would be to don't wait too long to get started, especially, with the marketing strategies of speaking. The book doesn't have to be done yet. You could be working on it. You don't even have to have a book idea yet. Whatever your area of expertise, you can come up with a topic for and just start testing it, start seeing what appeals to your audience and what messages they respond to.
Thanks, Devin. Mason?
Sure. This chain reaction we've been speaking about, it's not that one thing impacts something else, which impacts a third thing. It's as much that one thing, say a book, impacts my ability to get on podcasts, which impacts my ability to get in front of clients, which sells more books, which gets me on more podcasts, which then enables me to reach more clients. It constantly builds. It grows like a mushroom cloud. So that would be my advice in regard to the book.
Thanks, Mason. And David, bring us home.
Thank you so much, Henry. The danger of going last is all the good ideas were said. So ditto to all of those. And what I would add to it is, especially with respect to what Eleni was saying, there are going to be times when you just get blocked. And I know that this book for me was 25 years in the making, a short 25 years. I must have started and stopped hundreds of times. And so what I would add is get yourself a coach, and Henry is as good, if not better, than anybody I've ever met. In fact, for me, he's better than anybody I've ever met. Just get yourself someone that you like, you trust, because they will help you through those rough spots, and you're going to have them. So there will be blocks. There will be those times you think, why am I writing this book? Who wants to hear from me? And a myriad of other things. Henry will walk you through that. So get somebody in your corner.
David, thanks for that. John weighed in that he didn't have a question. He is an author, and he does think that being helpful is crucial. Our role is to help people solve a problem they don't want. I think that's such a great message, John. It is about a problem. A book is about solving a problem, and you need to know who has the problem and what's your best advice to them on how to solve it. It's the same for speaking and all this. So the problem that I solve is an independent consultant, or they're already an author or speaker, but they don't feel they have enough credibility in the marketplace. They don't feel they have enough impact and influence. So I recommend that They work on the Magnificent Seven that I talked about, the small scale seminars and the speaking and the networking and the volunteering and the YouTube channel and the paid workshops, all of these things in together. So it's the synergy is what we're talking about. It's not the one thing. I think, Mason, you made a good point. It's not just one thing. It's the things working together, and they're creating a virtuous circle. And if you're an author, John, and you want to have a conversation with me about what ideas I would have to create a client attraction chain reaction for the book you have, I'm happy to do that. And I want to thank our panelists today. Thank everybody for their generosity. And we'll see you on YouTube. Bye, everybody.